Hello. Hi, Camilla.
Hello, Natasha. So good to be here. So,
We thought we'd have a fun chat together, Camilla and I, and we had a big plan that we were going to introduce ourselves one at a time. So maybe I'll start. If you haven't met me, you might be seeing this on Camilla's platform. Then my name's Natasha. I've been running a business since 2015 and was never going to run a business. I was like, no way am I going to run a business. I did a degree to get a fancy job and I ended up running a business from 2015 that started with a real marketing focus, and then over time that really developed into business mentoring more and doing group mentoring support for groups of women, as well as I do lots of tech stuff. So often people need a hand with a website or they just can't figure their tech integrations out, and I often help people with that because for some reason the tech doesn't really mess with me, usually, touch wood. And then more recently, I've also been branching out in my local community doing women's circles and camps on the land with women that we call immersions. And I often do a winter solstice retreat. So it's a bit of a mix of what I say women's business and business women. And that's what I've been doing lately. How about you, Camilla?
amazing. As a multi-passionate, many branches, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I'm Camila Sunshine, and I am underneath everything that I do is the somatic work. I'm a somatic practitioner. I work like with people's bodies, but also people's energies, and work a lot with entrepreneurs, so other healers and therapists. And whenever I bring, um, you know, I bring the somatic into my business coaching as well. So is yeah, I love the strategy part of it. So, and to me, like the way I see business is like this journey of discovering,
Hmm.
like discovering myself. It always needs to be truth. So I'm never gonna be, you know, forever one thing. It will always evolve. So
Mm.
that's what it is for now. God knows what will be.
I'm quite the same. It's got to be always changing. But that reminds me, can you, because I hear the word somatic quite a bit, and I guess I feel a bit unclear, like what does somatic mean to you?
Okay, I'll just say like the word soma, what it means, right? Latin, I suppose, is the body. So somatics is everything related to the body, like feeling like sensations in the body. So it's like when you say somatic therapy, so like massage can be a somatic therapy. Yes, I'm a massage therapist as well, but I think there's a misconception. Like in Brazil, we say psychosomatic, like this is actually what I work with. So it's mind and body. So
Oh,
psych and
yeah.
soma. So, but there is, and I learned this in my kinesiology diploma course.
Hmm.
Like they don't, like people don't talk about psychosomatics here in Australia for whatever reason. Doesn't sound good or doesn't sound well.
Oh,
I don't
yes.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but for me, so I say somatics in my mind, I'm just saying psychosomatics
Okay.
because it's mind and body, so it's a
Yes.
lot of now with the discoveries and the big boom of people talking openly about trauma, right?
Mm.
So somatics help in a way of connecting with body sensations and the nervous system and regulating the nervous system. So I think it is in a nutshell. Does that
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yeah. I think in Australia, for some reason, psychosomatic tends to be linked with a negative stigma towards sort of like hypochondria or something,
Yeah, I
which is
know. It's
odd
really
because
weird.
really we are just like, yeah, I mean, the mind and the body are so interwoven, and
Yeah, I
think
know. I
impacts the
know.
body, how the body is impacts our mind.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, for me it's like yeah, mind and body working as one. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I mean, there's a few things that have lots of stigma. I was just talking with some friends today. One of my friends just got an ADHD and autism diagnosis, and I know, like, I don't know if in your groups, but some people in my age group, in my community, have some like cynicism about, the current language around neurodiversity and about all the awareness about mental health and the way that the young people are using those frameworks to help make accommodations for themselves and for people they care about so that there's just a lot more care and respect, that everybody's a little bit different. And I know some people our age they just don't really appreciate those frameworks. They feel like it's kind of a way of copying out, whereas I feel like I don't actually have a diagnosis, but it's just a way for me to be kinder to myself and have this frame of reference, like this way I think about myself and the way I show up that's helped me have a lot of compassion for myself because I was so hard on myself before I was using that lens.
Yeah, I think that was similar for me. For a long time, I didn't want to be diagnosed because it felt like a disease. There's something wrong with me. And it was actually, we're talking about social media and things like that. It was social media who actually opened my eyes to, oh, maybe this is not something too bad. So, I think the beauty of social media, like I've had this conversation with so many people, like some people like I can't do social media. Like I love social media for so many things. One of these is like, they spread of good information or people's experiences. Like I love that. Like how like we would not have this kind of experience, learning about other people's real deep experience. So was on TikTok, like seeing a video, like if you experience this, and that, and you might have ADHD, and but then seeing this as a, you know, there's the positive aspect of it too. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll be, I want to know now. And then was when I had the diagnose, then it was about self-acceptance more than anything,
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it has been that. So yeah,
Mm,
similar to it's like, okay, how do you operate? So
mm,
I think I was being much harder on myself
mm.
before, and
Yeah.
just like, yes, a lot of things I haven't figured out the way
Yeah,
yet, and a lot
yeah,
of things, it's like, no, this is how how I roll, how I run,
yeah.
and it's fine. But I think, like we have been, look, what it felt like whenever I was, when the multi-passionate thing came up, like we were doing things in parallel, like but very similar. Like, okay, so the first thing was being a multi-passionate. I worked with a lot of, multi-passionate people, and I know you do, being
Mm,
one as well.
mm.
And then the ADHD, and then I started talking a bit about that, and you as well. And then
Yeah.
now, well, we haven't had this conversation yet, but the menopause is a big thing because I mean, I've been 10 years into this journey. Well, can tell more a little bit more about this in
Mm,
a bit more in detail, but yeah, it's been a journey too, and how it affects, how we run our business is
mm.
it's been probably the biggest ah! And definitely they affected, ADHD. It's, that they say, if you have ADHD and you're functional, wait until you get into menopause, then you you really, really feel. And I think this is what happened to me, maybe
Mm,
uh, I had, but it was mild, but the symptoms can get worse, which I'm, looking into through different lenses and, improving my body functioning, through supplements and things like that. But yeah, that was my experience. I don't know. What
yeah.
a
I
like
also found that a number of things with menopause changed. Like for me, it began. like because I was teaching tech, I was doing these online courses. And first of all, I noticed that some of my mental capacity was reducing. Like I would just completely forget words in the middle of the sentence. And because I was so used to being like a smart girl, someone who can talk really easily and knew a lot about my topics, I felt like, what is going on? Like it was really weird and it was quite unsettling because I sort of felt like, it really destabilized my identity. Like, who am I? Because my identity was so caught up in being this woman who helps people with tech, who's really smart, who's quick, having a maths brain. And I noticed that I would just sit here because out here there's a loca tree, and I could just sit here and just like space out and get really out there. And I think what started shifting for me is this sort of binary of like cognitive function versus being really spiritual and cosmic. And I think a lot of my life before perimenopause, I was a very grounded person and I couldn't really access some magic things. Like I couldn't, when people said speak to the trees or like there's fairies or even just certain like clairs, like clairaudience or clairvoyance and different things, I just had no connection to any of that. And I was really fine with that. Like eventually I came to terms with like, okay, this is who I am. I'm just a very grounded, earthy person. But the more that my mental faculty started diminishing, the more that all the magical aspects of my capacity started increasing. So I think that was like the first sign for me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm coming into my witch era, you know, my magical era. And at the same time, I had a lot of health stuff come up because I have a history of, I mean, as a mother and a woman, just putting myself last and not eating well, not exercising. I have a lot of mindset stuff around that I'm not an active person, I'm not a sporty person, I don't exercise. So I've had to, like, my life is changing so much right now in terms of how I look after myself. And I've had some really hard times with menopause, physically and emotionally. And right now, it's settled a lot for me. But I did notice, like, in all of that as well, such an increase in anxiety. And definitely my ADHD stuff is like, it's not so much what it was before, just kind of like interrupt people, have lots of things on the go, really untidy. Like there was a lot of classic things I was doing my whole life that I didn't really realize that were ADHD. But now I see there's those, and there is just the savage inner critic. Like inner critic, it's not even inner critic anymore. It's just such a deep level of self-loathing that, like, if you don't have it, you can't really understand how debilitating that is. And so that just started really getting so out of control with anxiety and, yeah, like a real drop in confidence as well, which I think is very challenging when you're in business, just to feel like, oh, I don't have this, I can't do this. Just, it was just a big shock. And I've been through like the whole roller coaster with it, where I'm feeling pretty calm now because I have a great mentor and I have these good like frames that I can be kind to myself about the way I am and a very supportive partner. But yeah, it's been pretty messy few years for sure.
Yeah, I want to share something on this, but first I want to ask you, like, okay, so menopause, how did mostly affect you running your business, and
Mm,
how did you turn it around?
mm,
Like
mm,
how what are the main things you can remember? Is like, oh, I couldn't do this, but then some things you might be still be figuring out as we do, but like how did that
mm.
impact and how did that change?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was I had all this health stuff and a massive underpinning part of that. So I had a very long bleed, like a 29-day bleed, and then I had to go, I was anemic as well, and I had to go and get two blood transfusions and an iron infusion, and I was in hospital for 3 days. And I was like, oh, sweet, I get to rest, and people just bring me bottles of water, and I can just eat lemon cakes, and they put me in the wheelchair and push me around. And I was like, what is up that I have to come to hospital to rest, right? That's not great.
Yeah.
And
It was
so,
like part
and
of
I
your It's like,
realized
oh my
like
God, this is so good. That's exactly what I need. Hang on.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's not great. So then I thought, okay, I'm clearly just part of it. And working with my naturopath, it became clear like I had to keep trying to reduce stress, reduce stress, reduce stress. And it's just a quest. Like, just when I think I've reduced stress enough, I find that there are still places where I'm really holding on in my body. And I'm constantly trying to just get to a place of like the exhale. So that really had to change. And so not long after that health crisis, then I got a job with Wollongong University. So I was an employee. And once I got in there, I just realized, whoa, I've been working so hard. Like it's not just external stuff. I can really push myself. And I had been really pushing myself so hard. Like just the level of this kind of thing. I didn't even know how to explain, just like holding on and just, oh my God, they just go, 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 go. So working for
Yeah.
someone else helped me realize, oh, okay. Other people aren't living like this. Like there is care in being slower. Whereas I was sort of like idolizing working hard. And I'm learning now to just get deeper in rest, deeper in rest. So, yeah, I try to have at least one day of the weekdays, no business.
Mm.
My weekends are blocked out. I'm very strict with my calendar, like when I'm on for business. And I try to make sure there's always gaps between things. Yeah, so I've changed a lot, but it's still a quest. Like, still every week when I do my planning, I look at it and I just think, whoa, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I need to cut
Yeah,
heaps of that
yeah.
out.
I
Yeah.
know I need to have lots of breaks in between, and then even like I know you, for example, so many things are coming up now. Like it's like I know you have a session after this. Like I would never be able to do anything like back to back anymore. I just don't do anything
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah.
back anymore. But it's a constant. It's like, oh, okay, but then it may change,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you can have
Experiment.
two back to back and then have a rest anyhow. But what you said there about the like learning how to exhale, like
Mm.
this is some like somatics in somatics we do
Yeah.
that. Like
Absolutely.
probably, like that's the main thing. Is actually it's an exercise. I was talking to someone today. It's like, how do I explain somatics, right? Because like the ability to exhale is one component of it, like because it can feel like when you do, you're actually activating your parasympathetic nervous system and etc. But anyhow, I can say this now, moving forward. Like, what is somatics? Is your ability to exhale in life. It's a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I call it
Um,
the somatic let go, like that I'm just letting go and I'm feeling like no one's watching me. I'm unobserved. I'm not judged. I'm just in a deep, peaceful place. Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And so, yes, it's like the menopausal, journey is, yeah, it's the confidence is a big thing. I think it's a big thing because, you know, like I didn't used to like, but I'd have put on weight and then and never being self-conscious in camera, but I can see a part of me like now rising. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. It really depends. But I know it can be there. The part with the double chin, like look at it. Like you know. So when I say this, the part of the somatics as well. One thing that I'm exploring with clients is like the inner critic through the somatics, like what's happening when we are criticizing and the parts, we have parts. So it's like I have a part who is the inner critic, it is a part. When I see this as a part, then it's like, oh, what is this part is actually saying? It's just like, you're doing this, you look that, you look horrible, it's saying all those things. But I can create like a separation, or I can see the idea with the parts work, that I do within somatics is to create that distance. So to what they call unblend from the parts, because when we are this, we feel like we are criticizing ourselves,
Mm,
but no, it's just the part. And
mm,
so much comes up in, in business is I've always said, and I still keep believing that is the greatest spiritual or self-development journey to run a business
absolutely.
in which we want to follow our truth,
Yeah, especially when someone is so passionate about it, because I think for me, I was running my business, it was about marketing. I was excited about aspects of it, but also it felt like a little bit just a small part. And then at some point, I thought, you know what, I really actually want to do this other kind of work, like more spiritual work and other kinds of stuff. I don't want to be confined just to talking about MailChimp and YouTube and stuff. I want to talk about these other spiritual aspects. And um, that really triggered me. I think it's one thing to run a business, and the most intense spiritual journey comes from going on a quest for a business that is really soul aligned, that is like that thing we care about so much that our soul is calling us toward. That's when I think I see people get most triggered, because I would work with women and they would be on that kind of business journey, and I'd be saying this and that to them and giving great advice, which is all well and good because I was really detached from it. And then when it came time for me to step into more of that work in my business, I was at least as triggered as them or more. And I had to take all my own advice and learn how to push through all of those discomfort, not push through, but how to work with a lot of those
Yeah.
triggers and the confidence issues and the strong
Yeah.
hooks. When it's from the heart, there's these different hooks. So, yeah, it is a really
Be-
intense spiritual
Because
transformation.
yeah, you evolving into that. You
Mm.
know what is I want to ask you how you will help people, but just want to finish that part because you know um like like you mentioned like oh I was the grounded person and then I went to with the opened up to the fairies and I felt like I was the opposite.
Okay.
I felt like I was like very easy to be with the fairies, very easy. I've always seen myself as an alchemist. It's very easy to work with energy, has always been like that, but I felt like I couldn't be consistent. I can't, how
Um,
come to run a business, I need to be organized and I need to manage time. And, in ADHD now, it's like, okay, you have time blindness, right? Have you heard of this? Like time blindness, like, oh, that explains, like, it's really hard to keep track of time. But, how do you run a business when it's hard, it's not that you can't, like I probably can, but it's a lot of stress. There's a lot of systems behind. My phone is all color coded, like all these things I had to learn, or even like consistency,
mm,
like they say, if you are like a manifesto generator, like you don't need to, you don't need to be consistent, for example, right? Like you just roll with it. But it's like does this actually work in business? Because it actually, I've been my own experience, like I've launched so many different things, and I know you have too,
yeah, yeah.
you just go and I think there are phases, like in human design, I'm meant to experience things, right? Like so I'm learning something, I like to put it out there
Mm, mm,
and share with people, but then it loses interest, right? But
yeah.
how do you deal with that then
Mm,
once that is not alive anymore,
mm,
you know?
yeah.
And
I guess what I've learned lately is to try to keep the experimental mindset. And I mean, even in human design, they call life the experiment. So it's not to say take what human design says and just believe it. It's like run the experiment. Like try doing it the other way. How does that work? Try doing it this way. How does that work? And I think, yeah, human design, but also in business. And I think that's why it's healthy to try lots of different offers and lots of different things because, I might launch a YouTube course last year and not sell any spots, and it might be in February and it might be priced $80, and I might launch it again in February for $80, same course, and have 100 sales. And there's no, like sometimes in business there is incremental improvement and sometimes there are patterns and other times there's just no explaining things. And I think it is important in business to keep showing up and not letting what's happened in the past define us. Like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, I have launched this 3 times and none of those times it worked. I mean, probably if it's the third time, I'd be trying to think about like, is this really sensible? But, I think it is good to tweak and refine and try different experiments and to have that light mindset.
Yeah,
And when people come to me and they're like, okay, I've got this program, I've put my whole heart and soul in it, I intuited it, I dreamed it in, and now I just want you to market it. I'm like, oh my God, now I just get a red flag. But
yeah,
earlier in my career, I would, try to help that person and say, okay, so we need to do some market research. Like, did you do market research about this? And then the answer is, oh yeah, or actually all my clients just want one-on-ones with me. They don't really want a course. And I'm like, so you're probably not going to be able to sell this because your market doesn't actually want a program. You want a program because you want to extract yourself from your business and have this
yeah,
dreamy
yeah,
kind of passive business lifestyle, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
You can't sell something that people don't want. So, yeah, I feel like
I think,
experimenting is actually great and figuring out what your market actually
yeah.
is really great. And
And
maybe
there's this,
ADHD are just primed for that.
yeah, and there is a, what you said is like a practical approach, right? Like to, it's like, oh, it's not working. Okay, it's not working. It's a practical approach. How, what strategy can you use? Can I do something marketing wise,
Hmm.
right? Like market research or pricing or whatever it is, decisions around that realm. But there's this subjective aspect as well. When I say it didn't, oh, I ran 3 times and it didn't work, it's
Mm.
because I am telling myself it didn't work because here's the inner critic, right? Like I've had situations where just like, like, oh yes, I'd love 20 people in this. And then 10, 15 people join. It's like, oh, it didn't work. I've
Hmm.
had situations where it was like that, right?
Mm.
So that doesn't, is the problem like a marketing problem or is something happening inside? So I think yeah, that's why like these two aspects is so important, right? Like so the practical decisions that we do based on the internal, how you say, like internal relationship with ourselves and and the clarity that we get, like the inner work and the outer, right? So it's really, yeah, important, both together. So, but I want to ask you a question about, I know you talking about like honing into the YouTube. So, yeah, is there anything you can share about the experience, like for someone who, wants a platform, like what are the benefits of YouTube over any other platform you're finding, like
Mm.
type of people,
Yeah.
monetization, maybe a lot of questions in that. But yeah, like someone who is like wondering if they're gonna get onto YouTube, or how is this better than any other
Yeah.
platforms for, what you trying to achieve?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I just saw some interesting research the other day. My business mentor ran a survey just asking people some questions about where do they post and also where do they go to look for content. His audience quite similar to mine. And so people post when they're in their business and they go and post Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, like it's all the usuals and Substack and this and that. But when people go to consume content, like when they go to learn something or when they go to figure something out, YouTube was number one by far, like 75%. And so I think that it's easy to overlook YouTube. Um, And also, I think a lot of people also are doubting the value of being on social media, and I think it is still very meaningful being on Facebook and Instagram. And you don't have to create different content for every platform. You can use the same content on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I think the thing with YouTube is that there's kind of two kinds. There's like people who have a massive audience, and then suddenly they find themselves with 2 million followers, and then they have to figure out how to turn that into a business. But I think that your and my kind of audience and clients the same. Actually, we have a modality, we have a service, and the video content that we might create would be more to supplement our actual business. It's not our whole business. And I think this is a really important distinction, is that there's a lot of common advice about YouTube that we don't really have to take to heart, because we're not necessarily trying to build a YouTube empire. We're just using YouTube as another place where we can share content and maybe become a bit more discoverable. So that's one thing about YouTube. And the other thing is like creating talking head videos. Like if someone goes to my YouTube, they'll see some of the videos is just me chatting. That actually is like on the scale of difficulty of video, that is the hardest thing. And don't look at people doing videos like that and think you're going to leap straight into that unless you have some kind of media training background. I think I got to that place by taking really gradual steps. And I started with that I knew how to run a Zoom meeting and I was interviewing other people. So the focus wasn't on me. So I kind of got used to being on video where the focus wasn't on me. Or I would make little screen share videos of like, here's how you add subscribers in YouTube. And I made it for clients, but I also put it on YouTube. So at that point, the focus wasn't on me. Like I still get a bit jittery if the focus is all on me for a video. It's not my most comfortable way to do it. But I would say just it's about stacking skills. So once I knew how to do a Zoom video, and then I knew how to do a Zoom video interview and upload it to YouTube, and how to make a thumbnail, how to do the description, all these little skills I stacked gradually until one day I must have just got really ranty and I was just ready. I'd sort of developed ripeness and I was ready to make a video that was literally just me talking to the camera. And that just took a lot of time. So
Yeah.
I'd say if you're at the very beginning, try to find other ways to make video that's not you talking to the camera,
Yeah.
and or make talking videos and send them to a close friend or a business mentor. Don't go live with them straight away necessarily, because when I notice when we try to do something new, we can get really dysregulated and then get shattered confidence wise and say, I'm never doing that again. Whereas if we take a more gradual approach, we can get to the top of the mountain, but it's just step by step adding little skills. Mm,
Mm.
yeah.
Yes, It's yeah, it's definitely like that what you figured out that you're a way, like talking, like, okay, this is very difficult for me. So what is easier? Easier is to talk to people
Yeah.
than bang, like I've done, yeah, heaps of those as well. Like, and to be honest, like I particularly don't like this thing, we're gonna prepare to record a video, the perfect setup. And I had like a nomadic lifestyle before this. Like I can't have like a whole studio, carry with me wherever I go. Like
Mm,
I need to create something that fits my
yeah.
lifestyle and my strengths, right? So that's I work when working with people, you work a lot in finding their strengths as well.
Mm,
Sometimes they don't realize is a strength, like they might not be good with videos, but they could do amazing things with writing. They could do amazing things with like just, talking talking to people,
yeah.
even like, that
Yeah.
that's it. Just minimizing the fears that the other things that feel hard.
Yeah. And often the anxiety is just because it's all the light is suddenly shone on ourselves and it's all about me and how do I look and how do I sound. Whereas when I'm making videos of service to others, I'm not even thinking about myself. It puts the emphasis away from me and then I feel less anxious. So, yeah,
There we
One
go.
other trick. I wonder if let's share where people can find us if they want to follow us up. I know you're on Facebook, but do you want to just share like where else people might find you?
Well, for meditations and the somatic work on Insight Timer, it's Camila Sunshine. Can we're gonna pop
Yeah, we're
down
going to pop links.
below. And I'm still a Facebook girl. Like I still use my profile to connect with people. Seriously, that's the place where I hang out the most.
Yep.
I still, yeah, that's where you know, connect with people. That's the, to chat or be part of communities is there, but I also use Instagram kind of like as a copy of
Yeah,
Instagram at the moment is a copy of Facebook because I know a lot of people are on Instagram and they are not on Facebook. So
exactly. Yeah. And you've got a
so and
website as well.
yes, do have my website,
Yeah.
camilasunshine.com. And yeah, there are things brewing as well, like brewing, yeah, the somatic work. I just got two new domains
Yep.
for the somatic, which is things that are, you know, like
Work in progress.
yeah, it's just like yeah, exciting at the moment. So I just
Right.
got that. But those both have somatic on the name.
Aha, we'll keep an eye out for those. And I'm also on Facebook. I mean, we did have a little funny chat the other day about how Facebook is for old people, but I mean,
Yes,
maybe
I
we're
was
old.
told this by like a
A
20-year-old
little
or
yeah,
teenage or
but
something like
yeah,
Facebook for old people. Like,
it's fine, let it be. I mean, I'm not really
really?
on TikTok or Snapchat, but I am on Instagram as well. And yeah, I have my website,
That's for
Natasha.
younger people. TikTok, Instagram for
Yeah,
younger
TikTok,
people.
Instagram. I do have some videos on TikTok, but I'm just not dedicated enough to keep posting content there.
Well, if you're
Um,
watching this, right, like pop below, like
yeah,
what do you
what
think?
platform are you on? You can
Yeah, what
choose.
platform are you on? And also, like, do you believe that Facebook's for old people?
I thought, well, we know what the old people are going to say. And what else? Oh, and I'm on YouTube. I have a lot of videos on YouTube, and I love posting over there. I have so many. I just was looking at them yesterday, and today I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of videos on there. So yeah, I look forward to connecting. It was great to chat today, Camilla. Thanks so much.
Yeah, nice chatting with you.
See ya.
Bye.